Well, my wildly exciting task today is to try, for the first time ever, to fit a tow bar. Never done this before. Bought a tow bar several weeks back. This is about the first sunny day we've had to think about doing this task. Well, I'm currently underneath the car, and this is the biggest problem I'm having, is actually being able to get these bloody bolts into the the already available bolt holes. I'm actually having to put this in by hand as far as I can, then put a lot of pressure on it with a socket wrench. Oh fucking hell, here's a call coming now. I'm back out here after a break of about 2 weeks. I've now managed to borrow a tap and die set, the M10 by 1.5 threads in the chassis legs need to be cleaned out, so hopefully this is going to make that easy. It's been as low as minus 18 degrees centigrade and there's been about 12 inches of snow, but thankfully it's now all disappeared. Still some on the top of the hills there and in the field. But today's plan is to carry on fitting the tow bar to the 2012 Kia Ceed station wagon. So, plan at the moment is to get these vertical parts bolted in. So the first thing is going to be getting the tap set, the 1.5. Which looks like that. Sorry, so M10 by 1.25. So that's going to be this one here. So I'm going to get that set up, get underneath the car and have a look. We got the tap set up. I'll be quite honest, I have never in my entire life used a tap. I've never needed to use one. This is the first time ever. So assembled that, presumably it just pulls through. So I'll get down underneath the car and see how I get on. So here I am underneath the car on a drizzly, sunny and very windy winter's day. So I've put the M1.25 tap into the chassis leg. There's the rear wheel. Driver's side UK right hand drive. There's obviously like under seal. Now I'm just going to start turning it. Looks like that's going in quite easily. I did actually put the tap against the thread of the bolt just to verify that the teeth meshed, and yeah, it was perfect. So yeah, that's very easy to turn. That's no problem as far as I can tell. Take that back out. Now, let's see if I can manage to put it in while holding this and recording. But yeah, that went in quite easily. Now, the next one is... bloody dust going everywhere. Glasses were falling off my head as well. Now... there we go, there's the tap. So yeah, this isn't really particularly great fun, I would say, but there's the first one. Let's see if it'll go in. I'm not sure if that's at a slight angle or not. Doesn't feel like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I was slackening the jaw off there when I was turning that. I'm not convinced that's starting to bite yet. So that one's not biting straight away, unlike the underside. And the next hole is there. So let's see if that bites. I think I'm going to have to use two hands here. it started. Yeah, I don't recommend trying to do that with one hand while filming. So it's now into this particular thread. It's a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest. You've got to do it, 180 degrees at a time to get it started. It's easy enough once you've got a bite into the thread, but yeah, that wasn't particularly great fun. And then you've also got all the crap, especially on this windy day, blowing down and going into your eyes. So I would definitely recommend you put a pair of goggles on or something, unless you live in a beautiful tropical climate where you don't have all the shit of the day blowing around into your eyes. So that's definitely gone in. It's a bit of a pain in the arse because you're very restricted with the movement that you've got there. I don't know if I can maybe get a ratchet or something onto that. I'll have a look into that. But once you get the thread in, it's not too bad. It's just a bit fiddly. This one's going to be a lot worse, I think, because well, it's a worse angle, but I've got a bit more space there, so that should be positive. Right, so I'll get this out and try that. Well, I've managed to get this one started. What I'm doing is I'm using a 19mm spanner. Your tap, but obviously putting a 180 degree bar through there isn't really the best way of doing it. So what I've done is I've got the spanner on here on the end, and then I'm turning it in by sort of 45 degree turns or something at a time, which would have taken a hell of a lot longer if I was doing it using only this part. But obviously tap and die sets will vary, but you can definitely see that this thread looks a lot cleaner. I'll try it with a bolt and see how it goes. But it seems to be that all the threads are now clear, and then I'll take this one out and I'll put the vertical support for the tow bar into place and see how that goes. First test fit of the bolt. Take it out. So this is the M10 by 1.25 bolt. I probably should put a bit of lubrication on that, but yeah, that's going in there, no problem. I'll see what it's like on these ones. I'm going to use the camera to see it. Yeah, that goes in absolutely no problem at all. And this thread in the corner. Yeah, that's going in fine. So I'm quite pleased with that. So I'll get the other part. Well, these are the instructions. I'll post a link to them from Tow Trust Tow Bars. A bit of a bloody wind here today, so it's not so easy to show stuff. So this is what I'm going to be doing next. I'm going to be fitting this part. I don't know what that is, arm or something it's called. So this vertical bracket going down. So this one here was the bottom thread, and then in here and there. So that's the two threads there and there on the side of the chassis leg, and then these two will bolt at right angles once this bracket's on. So looking at the parts I've got, it's going to be this one. Looks a bit like a welly boot. So this now is going to go on this side like so. So that's my next task. Here's an action shot at the pendulum effect. So I'll put the bolts in just loosely. You can see I'm able to turn those in with my fingers, so that's good. Just going to see if I can get the socket wrench and get them buzzed up. But they're only meant to be in loosely at the start, because obviously you're going to have to adjust things, I would imagine. And that's certainly going at the chassis leg quite cleanly. I don't feel any galling or there's no roughness. It's just going in exactly as you would expect. So as we get close. Starting to straighten up, right? So that's just sort of like finger tight, I would say. And then I'll do this one, but I'll not bore you with me wrenching this thing. So I'll stop that, and then I'll put in the bracket for here as well. Sorry, you can see that. I'll put the bracket in for here, the 90-degree one. Right, well that's me. I've just put the bolt through there for the 90-degree angle, so that will then bolt against this vertical leg, which again, as I say, is it's not securely bolted, it's just loose. So I'll get this bolt rattled up. 6 of these in total, so 3 each side. Not too bad. If it was in a nice tropical part of the world, it wouldn't be too bad a job, this. But in Scotland, on a winter's day, maybe not the most exciting thing to be doing. As was mentioned before, on this side of the car, it's not mentioned in the instructions, but there is this plastic panel, so you have to take off some 10mm nuts, and then there's some of these fasteners. So there's at least 3 fasteners and 3 nuts, and then that'll give me access to the dog leg. Now this does actually have to get cut. It's not shown in the instructions from the particular Towbar manufacturer I've got, but I have downloaded some and I'll make reference to that afterwards. Well, that's all the 10mm nuts off and up there, and then I've pulled out, it's these things, whatever you call it, these fasteners, where you've got a bit of a thread on them, so you've got to be very, very gentle with the Phillips screwdriver. Hardly apply any pressure into the thread, and it should start coming down, and then it'll pull out. So I'll put them to the side, and then now this panel, which, as I say, is not mentioned at all by the Towbar company. So I'm going to have to do the same thing again. I'm going to have to clean out this thread here, and there'll be the threads on this side. As you can see, there's absolutely no under seal in this part of the car, so I'll be doing this job right now, but at some point when the better weather comes, when it's warmer, I'll need to spray some under seal in here, I think. But there is a modification required to that plastic tray. So next thing, start clearing the threads again. In the house now, and this is the instructions from PCT Automotive. I wonder if I can, no, I'll just have to do it just now. So this one does make reference to the estate only under tray cut, so I'm going to have to do this to mine. So there are some measurements there, so I've got my trusty ruler. I'll get a pen and I will mark this out and see if I can get this exactly how it's supposed to be. So their tow bar is slightly different, obviously. Different shape for the downward vertical legs or braces, whatever you call them. So I'm going to have a look at these. I'm going to mark it up on my undertray to be cut. See what the situation is with this undertray. I've been out and I've lined it up as much as I can. And it looks like, well, depending on how I draw it, the split could come from here and go to there, and I've drawn along the edge of the bracket. So I'm not 100% convinced it's the same as that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a hole here and make a hole there, and then I'm going to cut a slit, and then I'm going to see if that fits over, just as a preliminary test. Well, that's that fitted. I didn't use the measurements in the end at all. I just simply marked it up and cut a slit. It's not exactly a work of art, I would say, but it's functional. And I'll be taking this off again at some point in the summer, so it's hard to see with the light. So it doesn't look like much will get past that, I don't think. But most of the water will hit there, I would imagine, but it could do with a bit of a touch up with the under seal there anyway. So anyway, that's that. So now is the next part to put the bottom bar on. So this is the bottom bar, or whatever you call it. I'm not at all up to speed with technical terms. This is the brand of the tow bar, Tow Trust tow bars. They were certainly very helpful when I spoke to them on the phone. So I just need to get underneath. I'll refer back to the instructions. So it's bolt G. Bolt G is M10 by 35mm. 6 of them. So that's those things. So I'll get that up and into place. Or that's the plan. I put that into position. What I've done first of all was I put the bolt through at that end, and then I fed this whole bar onto that, and I put my foot at the back so the bolt wouldn't come out. Then I lifted up this end, popped the bolt through. So now it's in place. So now I need to get the same bolt, the M10 1.5, and I'll rotate it up and I'll locate that there. And then I'll do the same thing at that end and torque it up. Well, that's that bolted up. Same with that. I just need to get the actual tow bar apart, and I need to tighten up these nuts. 17mm bolts and nuts, so you get a 17mm spanner, and then I'll need to look at the routing for the electrical side. Well, that's everything torqued up. I've double checked as far as I can tell everything. The bolts are all in here for the hanger, or whatever you call the tow bar area. Those bits are torqued up. I've checked inside before I put that panel on. The panel doesn't look too bad. There's obviously a little bit of a gap there, but under there it looks fine. All the bolts are torqued up there. it does seem very secure. So it looks like you puncture this grommet, or whatever you call it, this water seal at the back. So the next thing I need to do is take everything out. Now there's two. There's one on this side, which is the left side as you're looking at the vehicle from the rear, and there's another one there. So according to the guide, I believe it's this one I use. So I'm going to take all the stuff out the back of the car and see what it looks like once I'm in there. So yeah, so anyway, that panel went back on fine. Better looking at the proper way up. So it went back on fine. A little bit rough. So I've never done this before, so it's all new to me. Looks better from the front end. But now to get the electrical kit. Exciting task, as I say, is to remove everything from the back. It's pretty straightforward. You should be able to figure it out easily enough. There's covers, 10mm bolts to take these things out. Still got to take them out. There's the one out from the left hand side, so there's a bolt hole there. Looks like there's been water getting up in there from something. Another bolt hole there. And then for the rear tray, which is this thing here, there's a bolt there, here, here, and here. So that's all pretty straightforward, nothing difficult about that. And then obviously you just have to take everything else out the back of your car to get the rear tray. According to the instructions, you should remove this, but I don't see why you need to remove that. This rear trim piece, it's fairly straightforward. I started off just tugging it, putting my fingers behind and pulling it. Then there's one in the middle, pulled that, and then I pulled this one, and then I started from this end, just gently pulling it up. I could hear the clips. There's obviously one of the clips just come out. So on the other side, that gives you an idea what you're looking at. So there's 3 clips on this side and 3 clips on that side. So there they are, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So that's not difficult. Imagine I've got to pull this one out to be able to feed the electrical connections to the lights. But today what I'll probably do is I'll bring the cable in here and route it however I'm going to do it through and underneath, and then I'll investigate that further, and I'll put the car down and continue working. The universal electric kit or wiring kit that I got on eBay, it was I think £11.98 delivered. So it's also got a backup beeper for when you're reversing. So I'm just going to take these 2 bolts out and remove that plate. I mean, I suppose I could just easily enough unbolt that and put it on, 6 1/2 dozen, but I might as well have the brand new one, or no, to hell with it. For this, at this point I'll just undo these screws and I'll put it onto the old plate, the old bracket, and then you can obviously decide whether you want to have the thing come through here or come through there. So as the hookup's going to be on the left, I think I'll just take the shortest route and I'll bring the cables up and then I'll split them left and right. So I imagine I'm going to have to take out some of these to get into the light unit, or perhaps I just undo the light unit and then stick it up you know, maybe I can get the cable up under there. So I'll have a look at that and report back. To consult the good old internet to get a handle on these connections. This didn't seem to make much sense to me, whereas this makes more sense to me. It seems to be a standard format, obviously, for the way the Towbar pins work. So, assuming that everything is correct in there, I shall now see if I can route the wiring according to this. So, the yellow wire, according to this, should be the left-hand indicator, and which one's the right hand? The green one should be the right-hand indicator. So green and yellow, which is there obviously slightly separated. According to this, green was the audible relay. I'm not going to bother with this audible relay. I don't really think I need an audible relay, but it's there, I suppose, if I wanted to fit it at a later date. But let's see if I can locate these wires. You can see I've removed the tail lights. They're pretty easily removed. It's basically these latches, and inside there's a Phillips screw. So you take them out. So there's two at the top part up here, and then there's three screws. Same situation. This latch type thing. Undo the screws, easily removed. They're in plastic inserts, so no worries about rust or anything. So I'm noticing on the indicator, obviously I'll double check that, but yep, that's the indicator there, orange bulb, and I am seeing that there is indeed a yellow wire. So presumably this yellow wire will connect to that one. Now it does say, where are we, here, the right hand indicator should be green, so I'm just going to check and see if the right hand side is the same. Well, you can't beat when a good plan comes together. Well, in fact, the indicator on the right hand light, as you look at the back of the car, is also yellow. So I've got a yellow one there and a yellow one here. So I've got a yellow wire that's going to go to there, and a green wire that's going to go to here. Scotch locked the right hand side, so indicator was green, fog light was the blue, and the rear tail light was the brown. So I've still got to do the three wires here. I'll just do the same thing. And I've got to figure out the brake light. I'm assuming it's going to be the red or something, but I'll need to test that. So that's obviously negative, and this is obviously going to be light or brake, but I'm not sure which yet. I'll need to use the trusty multimeter. Well, that's this rear light assembly put back on. If you're taking it apart, you need to take this top part off. So obviously you've got these two screws, undo them, tug it out, it'll come out. There's lots of clips and stuff, and then it's the reverse. Get the bottom part in first, and then put the top part in when you want to reassemble it. So now to do the other side, and then I don't know if I'll have time to do it today because it's the sun is starting to go down here. So I'm not sure if it's such a good idea to crack on and try and reassemble everything, but I will give it a go. So, need to figure out the brake, so I'm going to use the multimeter. I'm going to guess it's the red, but I'll test that out. This one's easy enough. And then for the permanent negative feed, I'm not entirely sure where to put that yet, but I don't know if I should unbolt this and put it in there, or I'll look that up. Well, that's the left hand side done now. I need to start thinking about how to route all this wiring and put all the retaining screws back in for the light units, and then if the light allows me, still got a bit of light, if the light allows me I'll get everything else put back into place, but I think the light's going to run out before I do that. Well, that's all the Phillips screws put in. Cover them up. So there's 5 of those. That's still to do this side. Yeah, that's the next thing. Well, I've put the insulation around it as a shroud, and I'm now going to put this underneath all of the trim. So this will be the first part to go back in, and then I'll need to start getting all the studs in, etc. But hopefully that does the job. Well, that's everything returned to standard condition. As you can see, the car's needing a bloody good hoover out. But yeah, there's the 10mm bolts, 1, 2 and 3, and then there's 2 at the sides, so there's 5. That's in. These buckets or bins or whatever you want to call them, they're reinstalled. Same idea as this. So this is needing a good hoover out, and hopefully job's a good one.